Yeah.
Yes. Okay, so hello. So this is the 14th episode of Studying at TUE, and last time we talked about applying for the EngD position, and today we're going to talk about the final project. And before that, today we are here with Osama, my colleague at the TUE, and he's going to introduce himself.
Well, my name is Osama, and currently I'm a colleague with Bilgun. So I'm also working at ASML as well as a part of my final year project. Well, looking at the background, I am a software engineer. I'm from a software engineering background. Been working on the back end for quite a while. Been in different countries, Australia, Pakistan, and now I'm actually here for my doctorate degree. So yeah, it's been quite a rough ride so far, but it's been a great ride.
Rough ride?
Yeah, software engineering field is not a really easy field. You have to study every day, everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to talk about the final project today, and I'm going to give the small introduction. So the final project is on the second year. So we study for 2 years. This is the second year. It's actually 10 months, starting from January to October end, like October 30th. So it's about 10 months.
Yeah.
And this is an industrial project that is done at companies. And usually we have ASML,
Different companies, Canon, Thermo Fisher, and
Siux. I don't think Siux. I think people go work there, but I don't think there is final project.
Sometimes they are but it depends.
Not this year.
Yeah.
And then maybe sometimes at TUE and other companies.
We actually love TUE.
Yes. So, and Philips and TomTom. So we have about few companies that is that works or that operates in the local region.
I know one region, Brainport region. Yeah.
And before going to the project, there was some kind of interview process, CV process, excursions to get to know the companies.
Yeah.
Do you wanna explain?
So before actually, so you start your final year project, you need to make sure your CV is as per your standards. So you share the CV with your university, and the university looks upon the CV, gives you feedback, and then once the feedback is given, it's submitted to the company in the end. And the company looks over CV from different people from different background, and then they decide, okay, which candidate we want to interview. And even before that, we are given a couple of projects on the way. So there is a list of projects where we have to select, look upon, and once those decided, you send your interest. And if the company likes you, you like the company, you like the project, and there's mutual interest, then you are invited for an interview then.
Yes. So we had 20 project proposals.
Yeah.
And then we had to select our three preferences. Out of this 20, I want A, B, C.
Yeah.
And then you send your CV to them.
Exactly.
They check it. And then if they like it, they're going to say, come on, have an interview with us.
And most of the company we are already aware of, because even before that we have excursion to different companies. So we also had excursion to Thermo Fisher, Canon, and when we went for an interview, we were already aware of our surrounding and environment. And once that interview process done, and the company likes you, you like the project, then you start your project from January. I think it's from 15 January for some people. Some people it's first week of January. It depends.
Yes. And for the interview, how did you prepare? Was it as expected, or was it easier?
So I actually took the project where I had some interest and experience in. So I'm the guy who has been working in a cloud for a while, been 3 or 4 years so far. So I went for a project that interested me, and the interview process for every person is different. But for me, I still remember my first interview with ASML itself. And they asked me a couple of questions. There were 2 people in the panel, and one of them were just supporting them, asking more questions from me. So there were a couple of questions that were related to cloud, that were related to microservice architecture, that were related to coding. I answered those questions, and for preparation, I took a book with me to the interview process, just to show that I'm actually reading this part and having been a part of this whole domain for a while. So I took a book with me, also showed example that I know this is these things, and I am already aware because I have experience in that. So the interview process was, I wouldn't say like really tough, but you need to be prepared and also have proper formal like clothes and stuff. And once those are then done, and if the company likes you through the interview, then you're selected for the project.
Mm-hmm. And I think one thing I want to mention is we had mostly, I think ASML is like the first choice, a lot of people. And then we had Thermo Fisher's, Philips, and the others. Yeah. But the thing is, if you have an interview with ASML the first day, and you also have an interview with Thermo Fisher the next day, what happens is some people are going to get accepted to ASML on the first day, and some people are going to get accepted to the Thermo Fisher on the first day. Mm-hmm. Then your second interview is cancelled because they already have their person.
Exactly, the offer is already given, so you start with the first company where you get selected.
So yes, so it is like decide where you want to apply, and also kind of think about, if I don't get selected, what should I do? Maybe the second choice should be the first choice.
Exactly. So I still remember like the first choice which I made, I have to think a lot. Like I have to think of 1 hour just for whether I should go in this field or not, because the second choice was also like as good as the first choice. So I have to, think really loud. And then I came across with the final choice that, I need to work on this project. I'm going to give commitment of 10 months. And then, so it went like that.
Yes. So that is one thing. And also, you generally have 3 interviews. First company, second company, third company. But in case you don't get selected to any of them, then you will have to process all over again. You'll have to give your preference again 3 times, and then send your CVs again. And then if you have another interview, you're going to have those interviews again and again.
So one thing I would like to add over here, so we have different rounds of interview. So if any person is not selected in the first round, then he is given a chance in the second round, and then you have to go with the whole process again of sending your CV and for the interview. So some of our colleagues were selected in the first interview, some of our colleagues were selected in the second. Yeah,
but if you have to wait, it's not nice.
It can be a bit frustrating and anxious, anxiety and everything, but you are actually selected one way or another with the project in the end.
And so first CVs, second the interviews, and then the project starts, and it starts after the new year in January. So it was, for me at least, it started in the first week of January.
Some of our supervisors usually go for holidays, so I do remember one of our colleagues, his supervisor went for holiday, and he had to start like third week of January. So you have to be really careful and also have communication beforehand with your supervisor, whether when you're going to be starting your project and what's going to be the best time. So a lot of communication is needed in that period of time.
Yes. And what about the, let's say, first 2 months of the project? How did you find it? How was
first 2 months, it's because like when you start the project, the domain is totally new for you. Mm-hmm. And if you're coming from, let's say, a different background, but you know the technology, and you're in a domain where the first domain doesn't match with the second one, then you have to learn about the domain first. And for first 2 months, the most challenging part was the domain, because everything was different. But even though the technology was same, I have to learn a lot of things on the back end or back processes. And I think it was also similar for you as well, because
so we are at the same company, ASML, ASML Lithography, and they manufacture machines that make the chips
that produces the semiconductor machine
and
chips.
Those machines are like very big, very expensive. The code base is so big. It is really hard to understand all of them, and also they have a ton of information. Some of them are wrong, incorrect. Some of them are outdated. And sometimes you don't have the permission to see. So there's a lot of problem when you're just starting.
So when you're working in a company that is really old, you're gonna see code that is even more older than you. So I still remember like there were a few parts of the code where it was written before I was born. So just be careful with that. You're gonna be seeing those things, but it's really, you're gonna see it. And most of the projects are challenging, because that's why that's the whole purpose of EngD, is to make you challenge yourself. So some of the projects are challenging, and you're gonna see the legacy code, documentation gonna be audited. So you have to have communication with a lot of stakeholders. So you need to go through a lot of documentation, a lot of code, just to be aware of yourself that what is happening in this whole process.
Yes. And I think the next topic is, during this whole process, we have 4 comeback days where we go back to the university and kind of present what we are doing or what we are kind of done. So what about your, I think you did the first one? Second one?
Yeah.
Okay.
So for the second one, like the university expects you to complete your project as soon as possible. However, when I presented my presentation during the second comeback day,
it's in May?
I think
April?
it was April or May.
April, okay. End of April?
End of April, starting of May, somewhere some between. So that during time, I had to go through that presentation with my supervisor as well. He checked it whether I'm going with any confidential stuff. So because the things which you are actually going to be working, most of the things going to be confidential as well. So you have to be really careful about that. And for when you're presenting to your colleague, you don't have that anxiety, on the stage anxiety. I didn't have that, and the main reason was I have presented so many times that now it doesn't feel like you don't have stage panic or anything. The presentation I prepared in advance, showed it to my supervisor, and then presented in the final day.
Yeah, and I think the one thing very good about comeback day is you kind of summarize what you've done. You share it to the people, but also you kind of know yourself. So this is the progress what I've done.
And one thing I would like to add: some of the projects that if you're working in the same company, some of the projects gonna be interconnected with each other. So if you are able to find that connection, then I think you can have that collaboration talk. You can work on some of the parts of the project together, just to show that you have created an impact in the end. So there are a few things that you're going to find it in such a way.
Yes, we actually had 3 or 4 informal sessions between the EngDs, right?
Exactly.
You want to kind of share knowledge. So this is what I know. This is what I learned. Did you ask about this? What happened?
Yeah.
And also getting feedback on the presentation. So this is my project. What do you think? Getting outside their look.
Yeah, so it's more gonna be if your colleague is working on one part, his output gonna be input of your own project. So if you are able to find that connection between these two or different projects, then in most cases it's really good.
Yes. And I think the also next topic is the evaluation. So we have 3 evaluations. Yeah. First after 3 months. The second, the interim one after 6 months.
Yeah. And
then the last one is the thesis defense soon, after a month or something.
So for the defense one, I'm still preparing for that part. It's going to be the most of the toughest things, because whatever you have made so far in the last 10 months, you need to make sure that you are able to present it, defend it, and also get an evaluation in the end. So
then graduate.
Yeah, it's a graduate in the end as well. So for I think for recent evaluations, the evaluations have been really positive so far. The evaluation is given from your company supervisor and TUE supervisor together. Some of our colleagues, they did have negative evaluation as well, so you have to be really careful about that. If some things or a few things are going bad, you need to also let the university know about it. So if there is something is not going well, then the university can make things align with the company itself.
Yes, so, because you have in theory 3, but the first one and the second one, you know what is going on, at least the progress. So maybe your first one is 8 points or 6 points, 7 points, and then the next one is up 1 or down 1. Then you know something is going wrong, or maybe it's good, it's getting better.
Yeah, so if you...
For you, was it getting better or
it was getting better.
Oh, that's good.
I have to... Yeah, if it's getting better, then it's a good thing. It's a good sign that you would be able to graduate. But if it's going downwards, then you have to be really a bit worried about it.
Yes, yeah, that's true. And I think the other thing is the report, the very big thing. We have to write a thesis report.
So for the thesis report... we did have some documentation by the university, the way we are supposed to write it. we followed that.
We have the template.
Yeah, we had
the
guidelines, and so we also had some review session by the university in 8-month period, where we were given some feedback. Let's say if some parts of the report are not accordingly, we were instructed on that, and the report is gonna be like one of your deliverables in the end to the company. And whatever you have found so far, it's going to show what you have achieved.
Mm-hmm.
So the report plays a really important part, and you need to be really careful when you're writing it. No grammatical mistakes are the things we usually go with Judith. So those things, when you're writing the report, it needs to have certain amount of pages. It needs to have certain amount of information. You need to make sure that few things which are confidential, they stay confidential. If those things, if some things are public, then you need to have a second version as well sometimes. So yeah.
When did you start writing it?
I started from the day first.
Day first, oh.
Yeah. And now I can say like it's almost completed, but there are a few things which I'm still completing.
I think I started in March or something, because first 2 months it was nothing to write. It was just understanding all this domain, blah blah blah. So I think I started in March.
So one thing which I actually did, whatever I understood, I wrote it in a documentation. And by the time till now, I had like couple of documents. Those were independent, and I think I just took like a week where I joined all the documents, and in the end, I got a report. So this is how I actually did it.
I mean, I had my notes, but it's not the report. And I also had like every Friday 1 hour session to write in the schedule, but I didn't. It was just in the schedule. Then I said,
"You're gonna write it. You should write it.
I should write.
You should write it." Yeah, but yeah, you have to be. You are the boss of your own self. You are the project manager. You are the project manager. You are the software engineer. You're the guy who's going to be documenting. So you have to manage a lot of things by yourself that time.
Yeah, and I think. So within this 10-month project, we do everything. We are the project manager, do everything, and also we have 20 days of holidays that we decide when to have. And also kind of, I mean, we decide, but we also have to align with the company and the TOE. And for you, when did you have your?
I took the holidays when my supervisor took the holidays, and the main reason was. Because I have to show my progress to supervisor, and if he's not going to be available, then I just felt okay, I can keep on doing, but I still need to get it validated. So I took the holidays when my supervisor took. I think the first 7 days were somewhere in June or July, and the next 7 days I'm planning to maybe next week or something.
You only got 1 week.
Yeah. Still got like 7-8 days.
I looked at 15. So like the first week, I think it was like the children's holiday in late April, I think.
I see.
And then I had 1 week, and then I had 2 weeks during the summer, and then now I'm gonna have another week after in October, somewhere in October.
I think I'm gonna go maybe like next week because my supervisor isn't present. So I thought, okay, let's give it a try.
But I also think it's really important to take it. You should take it. You must take it. But also you have to choose when. And for me, it was kind of logical first, and then also kind of convenient, because 4 months in, you should have a break.
Yeah.
You should have something. And then also because it's summer, you should have a break.
I think people usually go back to their home countries during that time. And if you are able to get those really good 20 days, I think it makes a whole 1 month. And you need to recharge yourself in between that project. Because if you're keep on working straight away till the end, then a lot of things can go bad.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so we talked about the initial process, proposals, CVs, interviews, and then the comeback days, reviews, reports. And I think what we are missing, or what we didn't talk about, is how are the process it goes, how are the demos, what you actually write code, what you actually show it, like about those things.
So I don't know for others, but for me at least, it was the company put more of emphasis on the documentation, because the code was old, the documentation was outdated, few of the things were legacy, part of the legacy. So for me at least, the deliverable was one of the documentation. I have to prepare in such a way that it can also accommodate the people who are going to be working there. And about the code, my code was more like a POC, proof of concept, because there are a few things that needed to be industrialized as well. Because when you start working in those projects are challenging, and the company sometimes just need a direction, right? They need like some sort of guidance or some way they can actually solve that problem. So because you're like a one-man army, you need to figure out a lot of things by yourself, come up with a solution, and then present it to the company. And if the company likes it, then I think you're in a good hands. Yeah.
And one more thing about the project, the final project is, I think what we usually do is kind of new, challenging,
exactly.
but also not really a big priority. And it's like the company has, I don't know, 40,000 people, and then they say, we have this idea, we think it's nice, but it's not on the roadmap. Find somebody to do it, and then we come in. We gotta
do it,
do it for you.
Well, it also depends. At least for me, the use case which I was working on, it was really prioritized because it was making a lot of things slow for them. And in business, if things are slow, then this means that you're losing capital, you're losing money. Then that's why the project, for me at least, it was more prioritized. The company wanted to make few things scalable, portable, work in a timely manner. So whatever I have presented in the end, my supervisor at least have told me like, we're gonna use it, we're gonna industrialize it. And so it depends. Like, it depends on project to project how much priority they need to give on a certain thing.
Okay, so I have one more question before we end. So the idea of, let's say, your perception or expectation of final project before it began and now, is it different? Is it?
I would say like I targeted for 100% or maybe 120%, and I was able to achieve 80%. And the reason was, I thought that I can give it a try, that I can make that thing industrialized, work as an actual product. But after having conversations with the stakeholders, with the supervisors, I figured out it's not a job of one man. You need a whole army. So I would say like I was able to achieve 80% of those things, or 70% at least. Give them a guidance, strategy, also present in such a way that it can be really useful for them. So as per my experience, I would say if I just grade it, I would say like 9 out of 10.
But in general, do you think the final project is, let's say, good or useful for people? Like for like EngD, is it like, do we need to do it?
So for the final year project, if you're coming from a different domain and you start working on such kind of projects, it's always going to be giving you a new perspective, because in most companies, a lot of things are standardized. It's not out of the box. But when you work in an EngD project, you start thinking out of the box. You start thinking the way no one has actually thought about. So this is something I would say a bit unique, and you won't find it in any project or any program. So it's really worth to give a try.
Yeah, I think I kind of figured, because for me, the EngD program is really nice because you kind of study, but you also work. So the last year, the final project is you are working for 10 months in a project, you're essentially working. But also because you have this flexibility and freedom, you're not actually really employee of this company, but you work for them, and you have this freedom to try out new things that they don't usually do.
New things, And I think this is something which you don't often find in a lot of projects and not a lot of programs. So it's something I would say really great.
And I think it's about time. Yes, about 20 something minutes. So if you have one more thing, anything that we didn't mention, it's the time, and then we wrap it up.
I would say like anyone who's joining this program, give it worth a try. And the main reason is you don't find a lot of programs that are more focused on the industry. A lot of programs are more focused on the conceptual part. And if you just study the concept and don't utilize it in such a way, then it's just going to be a knowledge. You won't find it useful of that knowledge. It's just going to stay like staying in the book, closed and nothing. And unless you don't try that knowledge in a practical implementation, you won't find it useful. So
yes, that's true. And like whatever he said. So I think it's also good that we do this final project. And I think just one more thing for me is the 10 months. I think it's short. Maybe it should be 12 months.
I think, like 10 to 12 months, but still I would say 10 months is a good period of time.
Yeah, it is good, but I would prefer if it has been 12.
Yeah, so exactly, like it depends, to be honest. For me, going 12 months would be a bit of stretch. It needs to be effective, short, and stay in the, time box period. But yeah.
Okay, so this is today's episode, and I think next time we're gonna talk about finding job after the graduation, and maybe next time you will also be here with one of the alumni seniors.
Yeah, but let's hope so.
Okay, see ya.
See ya, everyone.